Fáilte róh isteach ag an chláir seanas is teach níall donna. Tá den seáinniu le fáilte mhór rubbe bríd mac go bhhaird is bailí héidí. Tá sí an seo le córa agus le scéal aintse agus tá scéal ínta maithe cí le haintse nes rodúra chu siar bon. Good afternoon to you all out there, and we're here today in Chatneil O'Donnell, and we have a special welcome for Bríd Ward from Upper Céide. I'm sure you all know all about her, and she has a very good story to tell as far as we are concerned here. Fáilte Road of Bríd.
Fáilte Road, Bríd.
Good.
Very glad to be here. Thanks very much.
So you're here. Were you ever in this house before?
I have been here many times before. I've been here at your Irish class, your Ran Gaeilge, and I've been here at your basket making, and I've been here at your flower arranging, and we're here at the walking weekend.
That's right.
We had a great evening here at the walking weekend. It was the finale at the evening when we walked from where was it?
The Grotto in Kerrytown,
the whole up the railway and back here again for the dance.
That's right, yeah. That was a brilliant evening. It was great to be part of that, you know. And like you said, you're familiar with the houses as I am myself.
Yeah, I'm delighted with the house. The house is a fabulous asset to have in the area. It's a great tribute to Neil O'Donnell, and it's a great sort of a remembrance of the work that he's done, and it really sort of tells the story itself, doesn't it?
Well, the
house.
house.
I would have heard nothing about Neil O'Donnell had it not been for this building, for this house, and for all that he'd done.
Yeah, he was a fantastic man of his time, like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, most people would say today now, well, he was born a genius, really, just in the Irish language or in the Irish culture. Like.
Yeah, well, he was lucky, I suppose, that he was born in a family that had Irish.
Yeah.
We all love the Irish language, but some of us are not so lucky as to be surrounded by it, or
that's the trouble. That's the problem with the whole of the language today. So that's now. Tell us a bit about you, a bit about your program, Bríd, or a bit about yourself.
Well, I suppose myself, I was born in Céide to Patrick Ward, Patrick Shanran.
Yeah, I knew the man well.
Yeah, and mother was Una Ward. She would have been from Upper Bilkridge, you know, Paddy Doney's daughter, or Winnie McCauley from Arnmore. She would have been from them, so we've links to Arnmore and links to Céide, but definitely a Russell woman through and through, born and bred in the Gaeltacht, even though I don't have fluency in the language. You know, I have a grasp of the language now.
No, you're doing not so bad now. Yeah. You're doing not so bad, So that's now. So you have it down here as social prescribing.
Oh yeah, it was my work. You asked me about my work, and I work here locally in the Rosses. I'm the social prescriber for the Rosses and Frontend Primary Care area. So I do social prescribing when I wear one hat, and I have another hat, you know, in terms of play matters and working with children and families in the area.
Yeah, now you're on the air with that. You're on the air with the
social prescribing, I suppose, you know, and maybe there are many of you there who don't know what social prescribing is, and social prescribing is all about connecting people to resources within their area. I suppose if you look at social prescribing, what it is really is that it's a mental health support.
Yeah, you have it.
The HSE have got social prescribers all over Donegal.
Yeah, you have it down here, Bríd, as the 5 ways to wellness. Could you elaborate a wee bit on that?
Yeah, well, what social prescribing does is it connects people to the 5 ways to wellness. And I suppose we all know about looking after our physical health. We all know we have to exercise. We all know we have to eat well. You know, but very often we neglect our mental health. And mental health is equally as important as your physical health. And I suppose in order to support our mental health, what we have to do is connect that to the 5 ways of wellness. That's all the research out there would tell us that if we follow the 5 ways to wellness, then we're looking after our mental health. And the 5 ways to wellness, I suppose, is looking at, you know, giving back to the community, you know, giving our time or giving our words, whether it's in story writing or storytelling or our music, or giving to the community in some way or other. That could be volunteering, or it could be anything. So I would link you into ways you could do that. And then again, it's about being active. You know, that may help ourselves physically, but it also helps ourselves mentally, our mental health as well, and that it sort of elevates our mood. You know, and there's something out there in terms of being active for everybody that we can. You know, we may not all feel like we can do the Ironman, But we can do maybe chair aerobics, or we can take a stroll around the house, or we can do something that, you know, we enjoy and that we can manage. You know, and that's what we can do. So it's looking at you and what is good for you. It's also about learning, linking you to learning supports. So there's lots of things you can learn, you know, lots of courses in the Rosses. It's about connecting you to people and to things in the Rosses, and it's not necessarily in the Rosses. You know, I'm based in the Rosses, but I can connect you to things throughout Donegal or throughout Ireland, or now with the World Wide Web, connect you to courses going on worldwide. Free courses, things that will keep you, stimulate you and allow you to grow in terms of your education and in terms of your interest. I suppose the last one is looking at sort of, it's trying to get you to take notice of the small things, because it's the small things actually that matter to us and that keep us well. So that's the 5 ways to wellness really, and my job as social prescriber is to link you to those 5 things. Okay?
Yeah.
And some people, if you're well, you'll come and you'll ask, you know, Bridge, I'm looking for this or I'm looking for that. But very often, you know, like if you're not well, somebody might actually link you to me. You know, the doctor might connect you with me, or the health visitor might connect you to me, or, you know, somebody down the road, yourself, you might connect you to me, you know, for courses going on and stuff like that. And that's what we do. And we're all over Donegal. We have our own Facebook page called Donegal Social Prescribing, or the local page here is Social Prescribing Rosses and Gweedore. Okay, so that's so not Rosses and Gweedore, but Rosses and Fintown Primary Care Area.
Yeah. So if somebody came to you and you know, somebody just say I went to you myself and asked you for a program, what type of program? Just a simple type of program, just, you know, of your 5 ways, like of it.
Yeah. Well, I'd be looking really to see what it is that interests you. So you might go to the doctor has 10 minutes to spend with you, and he's pressurised into to finding you those sort of things very quickly. Okay. Well, I have all the time in the world to spend with you, so I have all the time in the world to find out what matters to you. You know, what's important to you, what kind of things do you like. There's no point in me saying to you, listen, I've got this great cycling program you could do, Eugene, when you've got no more interest in cycling than the man in the moon. Because you may well have an interest in gardening, and then that's something that I can link you in with locally. Okay.
So really they need to, in order to get to the program, they need to talk to you first.
Yeah.
And tell
or talk to their doctor, or talk to their GP, somebody who can link them, or go on straight onto the social prescribing page, and somebody will contact them from there.
And so you're at this now for how long, Bridge?
I have been at the social prescribing here, I suppose, about 4 years here.
Yes.
It was a pilot program that was set up in Donegal. So we're social prescribing covers most of Donegal now, but the HSE are now bringing it out to the rest of Ireland. So there's a pilot program in Donegal, and they found out that it was a very simple program, but it's something that works. It's very easy to connect, and it's a very simple program, but it makes a huge difference in people's lives.
Yes. The simple the programs are always the best.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
So what about Play Matters? Is that connected? Is that linked with social prescribing as well?
Well, it is and it isn't. You know, it's definitely, without doubt, a mental health support. You know, doing Play Matters and family support. I've been doing that a hell of a lot longer than I've been doing the social prescribing.
Yeah.
As opposed to my background and training is all in relation to education and the early years and outdoors and how that connects. So I suppose it's stemmed from, I moved back to Donegal 20 years ago. I had been working in the UK in family support and education, and 20 years ago I moved back to the Rosses here. And I was lonely myself as a young mother, and I started a group called Cardiabugga over in Burtonport. And I suppose it was from there then that Play Matters grew, and into its current format. You know, and it's got its own goals now, and it's got its own, so it's a social, it's recently been turned into a social enterprise, so it's managed by a small committee now. And what we're trying to do is sort of, we have our own goals and sort of trying to, I suppose, have a dedicated family resource centre here for our family support service here in the Rosses. Because at the moment, there's lots of different services, but there's nothing dedicated to children and families. Nothing specific. And that's really what we want to do. We want to have supports here for young families, because it's a huge job, and to expect somebody to do that, you know, and not know where the supports are, or they're out there trying to find the supports. When really, it's all you need is a small bit of support, and that goes a long way. And that's what we hope to do with Play Matters. Yeah.
Well, I would know you now for what, 4 or 5 years. Know you a lot better than I did know you, if you like, you know, through committees and all this type of stuff, like.
I suppose I'd be very involved in community development. That's very much being part of a community. You sort of, you want to do the best for your community.
But you see, at the beginning, and say that I wasn't understanding what you were on about when you were talking about this, like.
about
and
play
I used to,
matters.
about all that type of stuff,
Yeah.
and I didn't understand because probably it wasn't on my agenda, if you like, you know. But I do know this much that you know, you take things very serious and you don't leave no stone unturned, like.
Well, absolutely.
uh,
The slogan is Inyara fin spree, which means it's taking fun seriously.
Yeah.
You know, there's a serious.
Mhm.
Play Matters uses play,
Yeah.
you know, to connect people, to teach them things, to engage people, you know, to
Yeah.
engage families, to support families, and to connect them with other families, because very much it's about peer support and
Yeah.
about. But yeah, it is serious. It's really serious. There's a lot of parents out there who struggle,
Mm.
you know, and all they need is a little bit of help. You know, you've been a parent yourself, Eugene. I was a parent
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
We've all been in that position.
That's right.
And it doesn't take much, but if we have somebody, I was lucky, I suppose, when I moved back to the Ross, I had my family, but there's a lot of families out there, a lot of women in particular, who moved to where their husbands came from, and they have left their family support behind
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
and they've got nobody.
They're strangers.
It's-
Yeah.
yeah. And it's about, if they can connect with a group of people who are going through the same things,
Yeah.
then that peer support offers great sorts of relief to them. It supports them through lots of small things
Yeah.
that are causing them huge stress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'll tell you, you see, I can understand where you're coming from with that. That here in Chagneil O'Donnell, there before the virus came in, there was people came to not alone me, but some people on the courses like and say, God, can he not start something about in the middle of the day, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't realise that there was a need for that.
Yeah.
You know, when we were growing up, if you were seen at a course in the middle of the day, you know, you were called, you know, my visa interruption.
Times have changed.
Times have changed, but like to be
Yeah.
honest now, that's something that I'm going to get very up on, you know, that. Whether it'll be a successor, I couldn't care less as long as I provide the service, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But anyway, that's it now. But I will say that there couldn't be a better person than yourself involved in this, in the Rosses or in the Fountain area, and I mean that. Like,
There's a huge amount of good work being done on the Ross and Fountain. But it's
Yeah.
just about sort of connecting it all. Sometimes
yeah,
it's
getting
not
it all
always-
in together.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, but there's a huge
There is a thing out
resources.
there, like there is a thing out there that you know, that we're all kind of singled out, like.
Yeah,
you know,
we all
you
do our
know,
own thing,
aye.
but it all plays. It's like a big jigsaw,
Yeah.
and it all connects. It's
Yeah,
about
it's all-
sort of
I used to-
recognising that connection. You know?
That's what it is. I used to think, you know, that it'd be great if we had a place where you could have a kind of a social evening of all, for even once a year, you know.
Yeah.
I think it would be a huge benefit. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, and if
just,
everybody did that, you know, there's
just
always
everybody,
places to go.
say in the Rosses or all groups
Yeah.
from the Rosses come in, and the Fountain area, of course, you know, or Guido either, like, it wouldn't make any
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I think that would be, you know. But what is the goals now? What's your goals
I
now?
suppose the goal is that really to set up a dedicated family support service in the Rosses.
Yes.
Really, you know,
Uh-huh.
with the focus on play. But I suppose the big thing is it's about that sort of nature engagement piece as well. You know,
Mhm.
I'm very, very much involved in sort of knowing that it all starts. We can do so much by doing it outdoors.
Yeah.
Because that connects with those sort of 5 ways to wellness and sort of connecting families to the outdoors and to the
Yeah.
small things. And you know, that outdoor play is so important for young children, but it's also important in terms of stress relief, you know,
Mhm.
for the adults as well.
Yeah.
You know, but it's, yeah, that's
Aye,
really
so
good.
everybody needs a bit of downtime, you know. Now, and this house here now is going great, courses and everything else, and music, of course, and everything was going great. And then COVID-19 hit, and then we hit rock bottom.
Yeah. COVID-19, I think, has affected everybody.
Mm.
You know, and it's sort of, you know, we all had a changed the way we do things over COVID-19.
Mm.
You know, us as well, you know, in terms of social prescribing, we have set up a Facebook page for that, and there's so many free resources out there. You know, so many free resources in terms of, I was engaged with a group there from Inishowen during the week. They were doing something called Bogs and People. Just looking at the connections people have with the local bogs, and next week they're going to be doing trees. Then they're looking at, so it's sort of, but we connected with people from Cork, people from Donegal Town. You know, it was great. So I suppose even, you know, with social prescribing, we've connected online, but and Play Matters have connected online. You know, at the very beginning of COVID-19, there was lots of resources out there, lots and lots and lots of stuff. So you really had to wait for that to calm down a little bit.
Mhm.
You know, when people actually start to find their feet. And now that they've sort of started to find their feet, I suppose, we have we've gone online with something called Nature Station. you know, and that's from Play Matters, because over the summer, Play Matters had a huge programme of work planned. Donegal County Council, through their scheme, have provided us with a resource, a financial resource, in order for us to put a lot of programmes on the river walk in Dunlow, where we would have had outdoor nature connection mornings.
Yeah.
You know, and that's sort of bringing that mental health piece in, you know,
Mhm.
connecting people, bringing them
Yes.
outdoors and connecting them to nature.
Mhm.
And that went. So Nature Station is what we have provided now, you know, in that place.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's no.
So-
So, and are you happy so far? We'll get on now to the. Try to get on to your storytelling, but are you happy so far with the way things are going?
Yeah, well, what's the Nature Station? We've been doing storytelling up
I know,
on there.
but I'm talking about the social prescribing, the 5 ways. Are you happy the way that's going for you, or?
With the social prescribing.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interlinked, you know, it's kind of interlinked. I suppose the Play Matters piece takes people who want to be outdoors and have no way of connecting. So the way I suppose the whole nature connection piece is done through the storytelling.
Hmm.
You know, I have a history, I suppose, of storytelling, reading books as opposed to and telling stories that are already there. I wouldn't have had a history of writing stories. And for Nature Station, what I've tried to do is maybe find a way to connect children to nature
Mhm.
using storytelling, because that would have been something traditional, you know.
Before
All over Ireland, we'd have told
yeah,
stories. That have been told around the fire, like quite similar to this, you know,
Mhm.
at Eva Garnell.
Mhm.
We don't have that now, but we do. Everybody has a phone. Everybody has a laptop. Everybody, well, not everybody,
Hmm.
and the internet connection.
Well,
is much
if they
better.
don't have it, it's easy to
Yeah.
apply. That you know the money's not that big for one now.
Yeah, and I suppose you know, in the same way that there's 5 ways to wellness, there's also like a well-researched piece on how you would connect people to nature.
Mhm.
You know, there's a great university, you know, over in the UK who've got a whole unit set up for that. And it's looking at, you know, the best way to connect children to nature. Okay, and that's, you know, if we look at that, we're looking at sort of making content, getting them, you know, finding a way of bringing them outdoors. And it's a bit like, you know, like giving them a reason to go out. And I suppose last week's story was all about looking at the ladybird, you know, and how, you know, people might not necessarily be interested in ladybirds, they might be interested in fairies.
Hmm.
And the idea was, you know, the ladybird takes the fairy on his journeys,
Mhm.
you know, and they need to go and find these ladybirds. So now they're outdoors looking for the ladybirds to see if there's any fairies there.
Yeah.
So the stories are all well constructed, you know, with a huge piece of research going into each of the stories. They're a bit of fun, a bit of crack,
That's
you know,
right.
and
Yeah.
it's,
Hmm.
that's where we're going with it, really.
Aye, it's very good. It sounds brilliant, like you know.
Yeah.
And it's a brilliant thing that you're doing, you know. But no doubt, spearheaded by yourself, like.
Well,
You have
there's a
heaps
whole group, there's a
you
whole
have
group
heaps of
there.
energy to burn out there, you know.
Maybe not to burn, it's going to be, you know, but
Well,
it's-
to
but
use
it's
up
there.
for
Yeah,
the
and that's
good.
my way of doing it. That's my way of
Aye.
doing it. We've all got our own. Everybody's got their own ways of doing things, I suppose. And
Yeah.
that's my way of doing things.
Yeah, but to be honest now, and this is, you know, this is the truth, like, you know, you couldn't, from what I know of you, there couldn't be a better person to head it than yourself, like. Because you're 100.
I'm not saying I don't head it anymore. I don't head it anymore. I work alongside and I support the group that are doing
Yeah.
it. You know, and
Mhm.
but
Yeah, but only for your energy at the very beginning, it would never have happened. Would that be a fair statement?
maybe energy, yeah. But it's also
Yeah.
it's a knowledge base. You know, when you come from a knowledge base,
Yeah.
you know, and that's your
Yeah,
interest.
you're
You're
not,
really interested in
you're
the Irish
fighting me
language.
on the credit for yourself.
No, but I think we were all, you know, you're very interested in the Irish language and chanting
Yeah.
O'Donnell. Without that interest, if
Yeah,
you didn't have an interest in the Irish language to start with,
yeah,
chanting O'Donnell wouldn't be here,
yeah.
you know.
You see,
And as if I didn't have an interest in early childhood development
yeah,
and the importance, you know, of what we do now
mhm,
and how a community supports its young,
yeah.
you know, then I wouldn't be doing this.
Aye.
But I know that's important.
I think it's brilliant
Yeah.
what you're doing, and you know, if you're going to stay spearheaded by yourself. So, Sinead, we're coming near to the end of our show bridge. So, have you haven't a story to tell us? Have you?
No, I do have a story. I come down here today to tell you a story. It's one
Aye.
of the reasons for part of your programme here. But the story today is not a story that I wrote, but it's a traditional story called An Fart Dón
Right.
agus an Nochtú. So it's a Fart Dón and the Fianna out in Fronttown. Now it's a story that I think it's I learned it quite a few years ago, and I'll tell you how I learned it as I tell you the story. And I definitely think it's worth recording and putting it out there.
Right, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So,
Well, before we do that, we'll finish up with a story. And I want to thank you very much for coming and telling us your story today.
okay.
And I hope that
Fancy
I
Rose.
know that it will be a success for yourself and for your team. So the best of luck to you. That you've done a job in Tamai. That's all. My good hand of it.
So, do you want to start again, Eugene, or would you like to start this?
No, you tell your story then, and then we'll just finish off.
Okay. Well, I suppose the story here today is an Irish story. Okay?
Lovely.
For those of you who don't know Ireland, in case this goes further than Ireland, Ireland has been up with 4 provinces: Ulster, Leinster, Munster and Connacht. We live up here in Ulster, over in this county here, Donegal, and right in the very dead centre of Donegal is a place called Fintown. Okay? And when I moved back here to Ireland 20 years ago, over the years we would go past Fintown, and in Fintown you would look, and right by the school there you would come across a dagger that came out of the garden, and there was no explanation of this dagger at all. It was just a dagger in the ground, and I often wondered what the story was behind that dagger. And it wasn't until my husband was working in Glenties one day, he met this man, and I wish to God I knew the man's name, but he was putting signage on an old bar in Fintown, in Glenties. And my husband said to him, God, that's great, you know, and we got chatting to him, and he found out that he was actually the man that put the dagger. There was a wood carving of the dagger in Fintown, and he told him the story about where that dagger came from, and it belonged to a girl called Fingal. Okay, and Fingal was a girl who lived in a place called Glenletchie. Glenletchie is a townland in Fintown. She lived there with her father, and her father's name was Leffing. Okay, so Glenletchie, Glenleffing. Right, was named after him. He was the chieftain of the area. Okay, so he was the man to go to if you had any problems in Fintown, way back in long time ago. If you needed, some support, or you needed your cow had broken out, or you needed, he was the man to go to for absolutely everything. So Fingal lived there with Lecce and his son was called Farthdon. Okay, Farthdon was a young lad, and Fingal, they used to, as growing up, to play together. Like they used to love playing with their swords, out hunting. As you do as a young chieftain, or young chieftain's kids grow up in Lecce in the wild fields. Okay, but I suppose he was this fellow. He was a strong man, but he was a stubborn man. And now that he was coming to his late teenage years, Farthdon was becoming a bit bored. Okay, now and he wanted a bit of adventure, and I suppose he did find adventure, and he found adventure through the Fianna. Okay, now if you think about Fintown and the Fianna, you'd nearly guess there was a connection there, and there was indeed. Okay, the Fianna were a band of warriors, I suppose, led by a man called Finn McCool. Okay, and they were set up. They were based in Leinster, and I think it was King Con, if memory serves me right, was the king up there at the time. So he had a big army, okay, led by Finn here. And Finn was the cleverest man in Ireland. He was the most knowledgeable man in Ireland. And every year, when he was doing his rounds, he would walk from Leinster the whole way up to Ulster. Let me just show you the map here again. So he would have been based down here in Leinster, but they would do a whole tour of Ulster. And one day, as he was coming back down via Fintown, he would often camp out there for the night. And he would camp out there for the night because, the hills there in Fintown were full of wild boar. Okay, and it was a great place that he could feed the army. They'd go off, they'd get the fire up and running, and they would go off and they would hunt the wild boar, and they would cook the wild boar up for dinner. But anyway, this day they were coming through Fintown and set the fire up, but they couldn't find any of the wild boar. And his men were absolutely starving with hunger. They walked a long, long walk that day. But when they were coming down through, there was no food. And of course, Finn himself here couldn't leave his men hungry. And being a friend of the local chieftain, over he went to Leffing and asked him if there was anything he could do in terms of making him a bit of food for his dinner. So Leffing, being the man that he was, boiled up a huge big pot of soup for them and said, listen, I know this is not going to sustain you, but if you head off into the hills there, he said, I had a great big bull here, but he escaped and he's up those mountains there somewhere. And if you go up there and catch that bull, take him back here, we'll cook him up and we'll have a big feast tonight. And that's what they did. Finn went back to the Fianna and said that they could go off hunting that bull, and that bull was there for the taking. Okay? But when he went, of course, and Father Doan was there, and Father Doan wanted to go with him. The father said, you know, off you go and give him a hand, alright? So off he went, Father Doan and Finn, way up the hills there in Fintown to catch this bull. Well, considering all the strongest men in Ireland were part of the Fianna, they couldn't catch the bull. They couldn't kill the bull, and they were starving. So Father Doan, being the cheeky fella that he was, said, listen, and he climbed up on top of a big rock up there on the top of the hills, and he took off his cloak, which was red, and he attracted the bull towards him, and the bull got angry. The bull went towards him, and the bull, he didn't flinch, as the bull ran straight into the rock that he was standing on and knocked himself out. Okay? So Finn McCool thought, holy God, like, this is a clever young lad here. Okay, and he thought that. But anyway, the Fianna did what they had to do with the bull, and they carried it piece by piece back down into Fintown, back over to the chieftain and over to Letching, and they had a big celebration in Fintown that night. The musicians were out, the storytellers were out, and they feasted around the great big fire. And as they were talking that night around the fire, Finn asked Letching if he would mind if Father Doan would go, could come with him. Obviously, Father Doan had been pestering Finn to join the Fianna, but he wanted the permission of Letching. And Letching says, take him with you. And Finn says, I'll take him for a year and a day. He says, and I'll train him up. I'll train him in archery, I'll train him in tracking, I'll train him in fighting, everything that needs to be done. And after a year and a day of training, if he wants to come home, he can come home. Okay? It's up to you. And that was the deal, and off they went. So off they went, anyway, back down to Leinster, and he got trained up and became part of the Fianna. And after a year and a day, Finn McCool kept his word, and he asked Letching if he wanted to stay or did he want to go. So, and Father Doan decided to stay. Okay? And he did, he enjoyed staying there. He stayed there for about 7 years, fighting the battles of the Fianna all over Ireland. Okay? And he became a very, very skilled warrior. Okay? But I said earlier, he was a bit stubborn, and God, he found it difficult to follow Finn's orders the whole way through. So at the end of the 7 years, he said to Finn McCool, listen, I've really, really enjoyed my time here, but I think it's time for me to go home to Fintown again. Okay? So Finn McCool, was disappointed to see him go, but he was grateful. He was grateful for the work that Father Doan had given his country, to Ireland, and to Finn, and leaving the Fianna. So as a reward, he gave him 3 wolfhounds. Okay? And the wolfhounds are, a dog that we see as being part of Finn McCool's whole makeup. He had his own dogs. Okay? So he presented him with 3 of these dogs. Do you see the size of the dogs? If you look at a small dog, your normal dog, that's what a wolfhound looks like. They're huge, big, great fellas, alright? And they're strong. Okay? So there was one thing that Finn McCool said to Father Doan before he goes. He says, can I just, I will give you one more command. He says, can you please not go through the hills of Fintown on your way home? Because this is the time of year that the wild boar will have had cubs, and we don't want, you could be in serious danger going through that way. He says, take the lower route in Fintown and go around by the lake instead. Okay? So, of course, the Father Doan agreed with him. But now he was no longer part of the Fianna. So his stubbornness kicked him. Okay? So, himself, the Father Doan, and his 3 dogs, who were named Graffy, Jarahan, and Minamara. Okay? And I'll tell you how the dogs got their name. Well, that was the dogs' names, alright? And off he went, and of course he went and he decided he was going to go over by the hills in Fintown. And just as Finn McCool might have said, just as he was standing on the hill over there in Fintown, looking across at Glenletching, sort of going up by Dunlow area, didn't he not spot a nest of wild boar? 3 wild boar in there, and he decided, you know what, before I go home to my father and be told what to do for the rest of my life, I'm going to take one more night here and I'm going to enjoy the views over Fintown, and I'm going to cook myself and the dogs some dinner. So he took one of the little piglets for himself, and he cooked it up and he gave the other piglets to the dogs. Okay, and just as he was finished cooking off his own little piglet, who arrives? Only a lot more. The parent, the mother, okay? And she was absolutely furious. And the fart dog looked at her and she knew, just by looking at the pig's eyes, the anger that she had, okay? So what he did was he sent his first dog, Jarahan, after the Muckmore. And the dog ran after her, but very soon, as he approached the pig took off and ran after the dog, Jarahan. And they ran, and eventually the pig caught up with Jarahan and killed it. Okay? And where Jarahan died is now known as the townland of Jarahan in Fintown. Okay? Next up was Graffy. Graffy was a bigger dog again. Okay? And the same fate came to Graffy. Graffy went for the pig. Didn't work out. The pig turned on Graffy. They ran, but she caught up. And in the townland of Graffy, named after the death of the dog here, that's where she was slain. And last up was the fastest of all the dogs. Okay? This dog went for the Muckmore and fought with the Muckmore, but by God, the Muckmore got the better of her. And soon, this dog got running towards Dunlow, on towards the hills of Dunlow, to a place called Meenamara, and met her death in the townland of Meenamara. Okay? And that left in Farthdone only. Okay? So the Farthdone decided he was going to get the pig. Okay? So that the pig killed towards in Farthdone, and Farthdone, being the swordsman that he was, took the sword out and went for the pig. But it was no match. Okay? The Farthdone and the pig started fighting. And by God, the Farthdone knew that he had met his match. Okay? So he called across the lake for his sister. Now, can you remember what his sister was called? Can you remember? Fingale. Okay? Oh, that's not Fingale, let me just say. Here's Fingale. So Fingale was over in the townland of Glenletching, okay? And she was combing her hair, okay? And she could hear a noise going. She said to her father, "Can you hear something?" And she listened carefully. She could hear in Farthdone shouting across for Fingale, saying, "Bring me my sword! Bring me the sword!" Okay? So what that Fingale knew that her brother was in trouble. So what she did, she didn't have time to put her hair up. Okay? But what she did, she quickly turned it around and put the sword through the hair in the back of her head. And she ran down towards the lake there in Fintown. And when she got to the lake, she wasn't a great swimmer, and she knew she wasn't a great swimmer, but there was 3 great big stones at the side of the lake, and she was a strong woman. She pulled those stones from the side of the lake and she threw them into the lake there in Fintown, okay, Lough Finne. And she headed off, wading across. And she tried her best to swim across, put the sword on her head, and off she went swimming. And she made it, she almost made it to the first rock when she heard her name being shouted again, "Quick, quick!" Because there's hills on both sides of the lake there in Fintown, they echo. They just sound like she was coming from the other side of the lake. Okay? So she turned and she started swimming towards the other side of Fintown. And all day long, she went over and back and never actually got to rest in one place. And in the end, what happened was that her hair got caught in the weeds in the lake and it fell down, and what that so was the sword. So that sword we see in Fintown is actually the hand of Fingale drowning in the lake below the hills. Okay? So what happened there then was that and Farthdone was up there on his own, okay, and still fighting away with the pig. And he fought tooth and nail to the death. So at the very, very top of that hill in Fintown, if you go on up, you will find a wall like that. And you'll find a pig, and you'll find 2 little piglets attached to it. Okay, and there's a lake there, and that lake is made up of the blood, sweat and tears, okay, okay, of Finmacool. No, not Finmacool, and Farthdon and the Muckmore. Okay, so a dent came in the ground just above the hill there. Okay, and then rolling over back. 7 days this fight went on. This battle was like no other battle between pig and man. Okay, and it actually indented the landscape on top of Fintown. And the blood, sweat and tears filled the lake. And if you look at that lake, it's not like another lake in that it hasn't got clean, clear, crystal water that most lakes would have. It's actually got a dull, dark. And they say that that's been up because it's dark because of the blood of the pig. Okay, so it's called Loch Muck, and it's situated high on top of the hills there in Fintown. I suppose there's one last tale to be told, is that from this lake, there's a bit of heritage in that the water from Fintown comes from that lake. So if you ever hear about the strength of the people and the character of the people in Fintown, it's because they drink that special water that comes from the lake in Fintown. So it makes them strong, and it makes them clever. And I'm not going to say it makes them stubborn, because that's what Farthdon was. I'm not saying that's where. Okay, so that's the story. It's a great story.
It's a brilliant
and I
story.
found that that can be found in the National Folklore Collection.
Yes, that's a
It
brilliant
connects
story.
people with their area, and it connects people with where they came from, and it connects them with the whole of Ireland in terms of Fintown.
It's a good story. Very good, that's very good. And she's a good storyteller as well. Got a million maigad ar Ashtabridge, and the best luck to you and your committee.
Go mille maith, slán